Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today our team is going to face a situation where our doom seems inevitable. It's going to be a bit of an impossible comeback. Now, whether we manage to get through it or not remains to be seen. You're just going to have to stay tuned. As you know, on this channel I don't really like to tell you whether it's going to be a win or a loss, to try and keep you on the edge of your seat. Talking about the edge of your seat, this is the Type 59 Gold Edition. Is it getting a little bit bright in here? I think it possibly is. This tank is about as pay to win as it possibly can get in World of Tanks. And with this also being a desert-based map, you know, we're having a little bit of sun, at least in the UK. I've actually taken the last few days off streaming to try and recuperate, actually go and stretch the legs, maybe get this kind of like glowing ball in the sky that kind of like gives your skin a little bit of radiation a little bit of the time. And so what better than to also come out of the British sun, which we usually have for about 5 days in an entire year, and get to play the Type 59 Gold. And yeah, that is bright on possibly one of the most bright sandy maps that you can get inside the game as well. So the Type 59 Gold, what is this vehicle? What is it all about? Well, it's basically as if you've got too much money and you just want to have the exact same tank as the infamous Type 59 because you want to, I guess, flex that you've got more money than everyone else. I guess it's kind of like gold-plated things, really. Not really too much use. Gold as a metal is very useful because it's inert, right? It doesn't really react too much. So gold plating, I guess in some uses, apart from it being very soft wearing, could actually be quite useful to stop things from being able to react in a situation. However, I clearly am not one of those. I have reacted very aggressively at what that Kampfpanzer was doing on the enemy team to be able to shut them down as quickly as possible. I had enough of his jibber jabber, sitting in that position, shooting up at us like I'm gonna let that happen. Usually on this map, the position that the Kampfpanzer ended up in is going to be a bit of a death sentence, because you're going to have players all the way towards the south, and they are going to be getting shots into them. And seeing how we didn't have anyone towards the south, I just felt like I had to get rid of that Kampfpanzer as quickly as I possibly could, otherwise he was going to keep ripping apart the Leopard. From this position now, I'm going to be able to be a little bit of vision for the southern part of the map, trying to extend out some view range, sounding a bit like a weatherman here. I gotta take the sunglasses out. I'm turning into British weatherman as we see the enemy team making the positions towards the south, and my team from the north swinging in with a sprinkling of gold rounds should be able to get rid of them. Obviously, I can't wear sunglasses and actually kind of remain sane or proper in the scenario. Anyway, look, Type 59. Everything's so bright now. Goodness gracious, my eyes are adapted to the situation. The Type 59. I digress. Focus on the commentary, Scrubby Baby. Hey, look, I've been having too much fun doing this for 10 years. You know, if I can't kick back and have a little bit of a giggle at the same time, it's my channel, gosh darn it. You can tell that I've obviously had a few days off, and I've kind of regained that cheeky atmosphere. I'm sure that my stream tomorrow is going to be a little bit cheeky, but maybe like I'll actually have to play this game and then realize, oh, I digress for like the second time in this video, and that's because I've got to try and get up here and protect the cap circle, and it looks like the WTF Panzer IV doesn't want to allow that to happen. I fire an HE shell through the hull armor. Pretty poor decision. I probably should have fired HE at his tracks there, or maybe just not reloaded HE in the first place. Luckily, I'm able to bully this WTF Panzer IV, and luckily for me, they're firing high explosive rounds at us, and I'm going to give them the good old Christian side hug. We're going to also what looks like lock down their engine there, because I don't think that was a tracking shot, and with that shell, it's given us just enough time, hopefully, to be able to get towards the cap circle with 10, 9, 8, starting to get very nervous here with only 5, 4, so much so that I shoot the building down to hopefully that will give me enough time to be able to actually get in, but I knock down a tree, and with that much of the cap circle left, we managed to get in at the same time as the Jagdtiger, and he manages to get the interrupting shot against the 430. Now I'm more focused against the Kampfpanzer, not because I have anything against them. It's not like I would have driven literally half the map to be able to eradicate one, but because he's the one shot. get rid of the one-shot tank, make the enemy panic, and that's exactly what this 430 is doing here, ricocheting a premium round off our Type 59's hull there. Give a quick mouse round there to give a thumbs up to the Jagdtiger and say thank you to him for what was some awesome teamwork. And we are going to have some more awesome teamwork to be able to get back into this game. We're in a situation where they have 6 more tanks than us, and they have about double or triple our hit points before we started to pound our opponents at the beginning of this comeback in this game. Immediately, that Borask, overconfident. And what do you see here? Well, when the enemies have 6 more tanks than you, or at least they had 6 more tanks than you, they start to be a bit nonchalant with their hit points. They think, oh, it's a steamroll. How can we possibly lose? We've got 5,000 more hit points than they have. Let's just go in. And just like that, 3 quick kills from myself and 1 propped up by Ruffles Pro on our team, who's playing in the Jagdtiger, and this is starting to look immediately like it's a bit of a comeback. Now our opponents only have double our hit points and only 3 extra tanks, so we've changed a situation we were outnumbered pretty much 3-1 to now only being 2-1. So that should be a pretty good opportunity, right? This tank is just an absolute banger in these situations. It's got preferential matchmaking, so you never have to meet tier 10s. This matchup is as bad as it can be for the Type 59. It has all of the armor, and it's even got the mobility and the DPM, as Wargaming seem to just love to buff and buff and buff. Ruffles Pro shuts down the E50, now making only a 2 tank disparity between the teams. But I can't really drive up in front of a 252U or in front of the Carnarvon. And unfortunately for me, the WZ-120 is flanked around, but if he's focusing on me, maybe he won't be able to interrupt the cap circle. We turn our tank to the side and deliver 1 more shell before we get shut down by the German heavy tank coming down the slope. But just look at that. Look at the distraction that we created. I think by going into that position, scouting out the vision, by getting a few kills there, and we've allowed Ruffles Pro and also Zigu in the T-54 to be able to get lots of damage in from that flank. And we are right back in this game now with 2-3. Now you see, I obviously had a sudden rush of adrenaline there at the prospect that this could possibly be an epic comeback. And so I get quite passionate in the chat, saying, attack, don't camp, you have the HP. Because when you're outnumbered in those situations, the last thing that you want to do is to allow your opponents to improve their situation, i.e. surround you. And it's, as I've been saying in the chat as well, it's likely that Samoa is probably going to make their way towards the south and then dump in rounds. But this Jagdtiger, he's now positioned himself as if the Samoa is going to make his way over the ridgeline. And now with just 10 seconds left, the WZ-120 coming round. I switch my view to the T-54, who is actually using the stock turret on this vehicle. Will he be able to get the extra shot in? Will they even be able to get the interrupt in? And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what looked like an impossible comeback became a reality. Man, Ruffles Pro definitely turned it up to 11 there in their German Tier 9 tank destroyer, destroying vehicle after vehicle after vehicle on the enemy team and picking up what was probably a lot of damage. But I guess we'll just have to see the post-game stats for that. And yes, clearly Ruffles Pro on top in their Jagdtiger with 4,000 damage dealt and 5 kills. Although, you know, for every big boy tank destroyer out there that's fabulous for those frontal engagements, it's always nice to have a pesky Chinese premium medium tank on a ridge before, and my 3,700 damage was definitely still a fairly good contribution into this game, with also 5 kills, with both me and Ruffles Pro managing to destroy a third of the enemy team each. That gets a big thumbs up from me. Do you know what's hilarious about the Type 59 Gold, apart from the fact that it's possibly one of the most ludicrous things you could probably ever spend your money on in the game, you should just get the regular Type 59 instead, is that 1,521 base experience wasn't an ace tanker. That's right, apparently, I don't know, 1 or 5% of players who have actually played this tank in the last 2 weeks have had better games than that, and I thought that was an absolute cracking round of World of Tanks. And luckily, because I wasn't firing premium rounds left, right and center, and I know, bad role play. Sometimes when I play my gold Type 59, I only fire premium rounds and only use premium consumables and like to look down on everyone else because that's what somebody would do if they bought a gold-plated tank, right? Or just a solid gold tank. I was using regular consumables and we make a healthy profit of 147,000. So what can we learn from this game? Many things. Firstly, Type 59 is great. Secondly, using the cap circle to pressure your opponents to force them to have to play aggressively and sitting in hold down situations like I was can have huge impact in World of Tanks. That's why it's always so good to have 1, 2, or preferably 3 people inside the cap circle and then to have a couple of other tanks on the fringes, and you'll set yourself up with an awesome defense that can be incredibly hard for your opponents to break. And also probably overconfidence. When the enemies thought that they had us 3-1 and they had triple our hit points, you could forgive them for thinking, I'm just going to rush in and try and get as much as I can. And even players like the Borask or the Skoda T56, who up until that point had had some pretty darn good games for tier 8, suddenly realized the error of their ways as they were picked apart one by one. And look, we've all been there. We've all done that. We got overconfident. We go in to try and get as much as we possibly can. And then you have to sit there and just cry as everything seems to go wrong as you watch your team fail to, I guess, make up for your overconfidence. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this epic comeback in World of Tanks. If you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. If you hated it, however, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below, what was your most memorable comeback in World of Tanks and what vehicle were you playing? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.